episode 11. And today's episode is special. I have my first guest speaker joining me today. His name is Steven. He's also my fiance, and he's coming on to share his experience, strength, and hope. So let's welcome Steven onto the show. Hi, Steven.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
How are you today?
I'm doing very well.
Awesome. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to come on here and to share your story.
Yes, I'm very excited to do.
Thank you.
As you've heard, my name is Steven, and I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and drug addict.
At what age did you stop using drugs and alcohol?
I quit drinking and doing drugs 3 years ago. I finally had enough of that life, and I found the willingness to stop using drugs.
What was your drug of choice? Was it alcohol, drugs, a little bit of both?
Yeah, alcohol took me to places that I'd never imagined myself in, but I was a drug addict at the end of everything, and it was, partly my choice, but alcohol played a big role in that.
When did you start using drugs or start drinking?
Well, I started smoking weed when I was younger, probably like 14 or 15. That led me to trying alcohol and eventually, ending up with a cocaine addiction at 16 years old.
Do you think you became dependent on drugs from age 16, or did it take a while for you to become dependent after using, or do you think you really didn't get dependent on drugs or on alcohol at all?
I was definitely addicted to cocaine at a younger age. It didn't fully envelop my life, really, not like it did towards the end. Same with alcohol and other things, but I didn't have a physical and mental obsession until I was probably like 20, 25 or 26 years old.
Okay, so it kind of progressed as you got older.
Yeah,
Okay.
it got a lot worse the older I got.
Right. Do you think you had a problem with alcohol or drugs? And then did it get out of control for you?
Oh, absolutely. um, I didn't I didn't get in trouble every time I drank, but every time I got in trouble, I was drinking.
I love that quote. Kind of got you into your addictions.
Well, the the wanting to be accepted by others, and then also at the same time, kind of being friends with the outcasts of my school and all that. It was just kind of, we were our own, doing our own thing and kind of going against the grain of everyone else. And I was always like anti everyone, anti everything. So if you were, doing the mainstream thing and staying sober or straight edge or whatever, I was totally against that.
Right.
And I guess, like, looking back in hindsight, I had a lot of social anxieties. At the time I didn't realize that, but that's just really the gist of it, is that I didn't feel like I fit in anywhere, and that's really why, I got along with a lot of people, but,
Right.
the people that I got close to, other degenerates and people who were like me at that point in time.
Right. So you found a place to fit in, a place where you're accepted, and okay.
People are very accepting of alcohol, and it seems more and more lately that not drinking, you're just like, people look at you like you're crazy or something, or like, how could you not drink? Or the easiest way for me to deal with that is just to say that it's just a choice of mine, and I feel I'm better off without it.
Do you agree with how alcohol is portrayed in society? I mean, you are right when you say like drugs are kind of looked down upon, but alcohol isn't. Yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of a a conundrum because, like I said in the beginning, alcohol was like my gateway to using hard drugs. And you watch commercials and everything, or even music videos and all kinds of other things in the media portraying alcohol as a glamorous lifestyle. And for a lot of people, it's not. You imagine it to be in your mind because of what you see, and really, you're copping drugs on Second Ave in Woonsocket at 3 in the morning after a few drinks. Not a very glamorous place to be if you've ever heard of Woonsocket, Rhode Island.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. I kind of wish they would show, like, the aftermath of all the horrible things that happen after you drink, after you party, after you do anything that they have commercials for. Like, nobody sees the aftermath or the after effects. And I think that's what's most important. And I think that showing the aftermath, the negative things, could really have a bigger impact on the way we view things, on the way we do things in our society.
But you're still gonna get those people who can, justify their using the same way that I used to. Even though I was a alcoholic drug addict, barely getting through the day every single day without using. If I didn't use, I was just sitting around doing nothing. And people can. I could still justify myself as well. At least I'm not that homeless guy on the corner. I'm not homeless. I'm not. So I'm doing all right because I can work and provide for myself.
Right.
But at the same time, the only thing I'm providing myself is with drugs. I'm just fueling my addiction every single day. And when you open up that door to, if you, the more you show people what alcohol could lead to, you can also, you're opening up a door for justifications. And everybody has their own path to walk, and choosing to quit is or even
Yeah.
alcoholism as a whole is what is that, a self-diagnosed disease.
What type of steps did you take to get clean?
It was a very long journey for me. I, prison and detoxes and all that for a very long time, and struggling with the idea that I knew that I was an alcoholic and a drug addict, but I just couldn't control myself. It took me a very long time to finally find the willingness to stop and actually put my best foot forward and work on myself and my recovery. And that was, like I said, probably from about the age of 24, 25. I was around 24, 25, and I'd gotten pulled over again driving without a license, and I was brought to prison, and I did a little bit of time there. Upon my release, I thought to myself, I'm not going to drink again. I'm not doing that ever again. And within a week, I was drinking again. I mean, it was hard, but I did go to a program, a court-ordered program, where I was, drug tested 3 times a week, and I kept sobriety against alcohol for about 9 months, I think. And I was doing a marijuana maintenance program. I was using fake urine to pass my drug tests and kind of just sliding through the system. And I graduated that program, and I was like, okay, well, now what's next? I didn't know anything about meetings. I didn't really know anything about sobriety at all. I just kind of thought that it was what I had to do to stay out of prison. I didn't think of it as something bettering myself at all. I fast forward a little bit. My mother passed away, and I was completely heartbroken. That's when I started getting very serious with alcohol, using it as a crutch for my sadness and my grief. And I drank for a very long time, and I held on to that grief for a very long time, and it was terrifying. I mean, looking back, I would I wouldn't eat for days. I would just drink and find ways to get alcohol. I didn't have any money to spend on, nourishing my body at all. I would just say, every beer is a sandwich in a can. So basically get blackout drunk every single day and every single night. I would wake up in the middle of the night and reach for my bottle of whiskey or whatever, and it was never. There was no off for me. I just kept drinking, and it caused more problems for me. I ended up in prison again, and still that wasn't enough. That was the first time that I walked into the doors of a Salvation Army. I was court ordered to another program, and it was I was going through the motions and really just doing it again so that I wouldn't have to go back to jail, and not doing it to better myself, just doing what I had to do to get through. I did the 6 months, and I was a model Salvation
Was this the
Army.
first time?
Yeah. This was probably like 7 years ago. I graduated the program. I did everything I had to do, basically dot my I's and cross my T's, and I got the case dismissed. And as soon as I walked out of there, it was on. My sister let me stay with her for a little while, and there was a liquor store down the street and bars, and with the little money that I had, I'd go buy first thing I did, go buy a pint of vodka. I didn't even really like vodka, but it was the cheapest and closest thing near me, and that's what she found the empty bottles underneath the recliner where I was, kind of hanging out and everything, and that's when she brought me into a sober house, and that was a terrible experience of a sober house. But
How long were you in the sober house?
I stayed there for like a month maybe, and I experienced some things there and saw things that were kind of scary, but it really it opened up a door for me to really wanting to try heroin and IV drugs, because that's kind of like what everybody was doing at the time, and they were like, it's kind of funny, people look down on you because you're not a drug addict, you're an alcoholic, and they're like, well, you don't do drugs, what are you doing here, what are you doing in a sober house, you just drink, there's nothing wrong with drinking. It's that social stigma of alcohol really not being a problem.
So, alcohol wasn't cutting it for you anymore?
Yeah, it took a little while, but I ended up trying her. I snorted heroin for the first time probably a couple weeks after I left that sober house.
And it was a completely different experience than drinking?
Absolutely. I don't want to get into all the ins and outs of it, but I fell in love with it very quickly. Yeah, at first I kept it at bay, and I used my justification powers of I only do it on the weekends. I only do it I won't do it 2 days in a row, and until it was every single day, and I really had a bad problem with it, and I struggled with that for a little while.
Right.
I was still an alcoholic, but I would only drink excessively if I couldn't get high, or if I couldn't, find the means of getting high. I would just drink excessively to black out drinking, and
To escape.
yeah, because I didn't want to feel anymore. I was just existing, and I didn't want to feel the emotions, and how I felt like I was useless in this world. I was a loser. I was a, those things run through your mind where you're just like, I'm just a loser, drug addict, drunk piece of shit, and this is what my life is going to be. You think ahead. This is it. Like, I mean, the things don't get much better for me if I keep doing this. I was stuck in that pattern, and I started thinking, maybe if I quit, things will be better. It was a scary thought at the time because I didn't know how to go about living without using. I used to live and I lived to use. It was, a nonstop cycle of waking up, making some money, going to get high, going to get drunk.
Yeah.
Everything came to a crashing halt. I overdosed on fentanyl. I had a near death
So
experience.
heroin led to fentanyl?
Well,
Or was it mixed?
yeah, it's kind of like whatever you're getting out there,
I see.
you don't know what you're really getting.
So it could be fetal.
Yeah, they mix everything, and it's just kind of like it's a crapshoot on whatever you're gonna get.
Okay.
I had a near death experience. What I felt in that moment was I was right on the edge, and I got brought back, and I believe that Jesus Christ, that he spoke to me that day, and he brought me back for reasons I still don't know, but I'm going to do my best to live for him. I'm not gonna I didn't get sober right after this experience. It took about 2 weeks of continuing my lifestyle until I came to an end at the end of my rope, where my sister and my brother gave me an ultimatum and said, if you're gonna keep living like this, don't we're gonna be out of your life. I don't have any other family, so I really look to them for the support and love that we need as humans from our relatives. And yeah, I told my sister, this was it, and she let me stay at her house for a couple days. And well, my brother and my sister were both living together at the same time, so I kind of sweated out on the couch for a couple days, and went to a detox. They put me in line for the Salvation Army. I knew the place. I knew that I knew what they offered, and I didn't have insurance or anything, so they offer a place to live and a place to get better. I went to detox, walked out on about 3 years ago, a couple days, and slept on the couch again. Went to Salvation Army the next day. I'll never forget the feelings and what I experienced right before that. I was in the parking lot with my sister. And
Right before you...
before I checked in.
Okay.
I'll never forget that moment. I was teary-eyed, and I was praying. And that's when I remembered that moment where I came back. I felt the presence of God upon me, and I prayed so hard that I'd never had to do this again, and I'd never have to put my family through the pain
Right.
again. That started my journey into recovery, and it was a long road after that. I followed the program to the T for for my first year of sobriety. I got the sponsor, went to meetings 3-4 times a week. I really got into it. I mean, now I'm 3 years sober, and one of the things that I was told in the beginning when I was struggling, because I didn't even want to be at that place. I was like,
Right.
I was not feeling good, and
And it's faith-based, right? Everything completely changes.
yeah, My
It's
my,
not
my
comfort. It's like outside of your comfort.
yeah, my counselor there, I was struggling, and I told him about it, and he said, and this really, it still works for me today, that all you have to do is not drink or do drugs today. That's it. You don't have to fast forward. You don't have to look back. You just need to focus on today. If there's anybody out there
Right.
struggling to get through a day,
One day at a time, right?
yes, one day at a time, and
So, yeah.
that's really how simple it is. And after a little while, it gets better and it gets better.
So there were many steps for you to take to get clean. But after all of that, you graduated the program.
Yes,
And how did you commit by staying clean and sober for that long? How do you commit to staying clean?
well, I've committed myself to a new lifestyle. I know where I came from, and I know I don't want to go back. I tell myself I know what the results are going to be if I pick up a drink or a drug, and they're not the ones that I want. And I never forget that. I don't let that thought slip from my mind that alcohol and drugs are only going to hold me back from the things that I want and that I truly desire from this life.
So your commitment is kind of like focusing on the future, focusing on the greater good, greater things,
Yeah,
keeping your faith, focusing on your higher power. And so you worked the program and you worked the meetings, and that helped you in the beginning.
yes, absolutely.
Nice.
I got to meet some good guys, and my sponsor was a very nice man. We'd meet up for coffee and play cards, and really just being around somebody who was also sober in like a real world situation, not inside of a program,
Yeah.
was very beneficial to me, because it gave me hope that there's a normal life after the program, you know.
Right. So after we become sober, our life changes when we recover. So how did that change affect you? For the good, for the bad? It's
My
a really big change.
my life has turned around completely. I'm happier mentally. I'm a little bit larger physically,
Yeah.
but they call that the recovery weight. I still holding on to that.
It's because you're pregnant with me. It's support weight.
Yes, I keep myself grounded. You're a huge part of that, Krista. You really
Thank you.
bring me back to sometimes my mind will drift off, and you help me remember that this is a life worth living,
Mm-hmm.
and that as a life in sobriety has been wonderful with you, and through our faith, through God, and
Well, yeah, like we said in the beginning, I think both of us agreed and came to the agreement that we put God first, and then we put ourselves first, and then we put each other, because without God and then without loving ourselves, we can't love each other. And I think that was like huge, because I don't think I ever really did that before, but the way we were able to come together and do that, and then I think that's a huge thing that like makes our relationship work. Huge thing that like helps us stay focused, but also stay in love, stay together.
yeah, and staying sober.
Yeah. What are some activities, hobbies, or interests that you do now that you're sober that maybe you didn't do before? Like what can you tell the listeners, the viewers, how they can have fun, how they can enjoy activities or their hobbies or interests in sobriety?
Yeah, you can pretty much do anything that you would have done, just without alcohol. I find peace with myself. I can sit with myself now, and I can enjoy that. Where towards the beginning of my recovery, I needed to stay busy. Meetings helped with that. It gave me something to constantly look forward to. I'm at a point where I'm pretty busy all the time, and
Right, like you're working,
yeah.
but you're also taking time off to relax, but you're enjoying life, so.
Oh, and I truly enjoy hiking and doing trail
Yeah.
walks and walking the dogs with you. That's like probably one of my most favorite
Yes.
thing.
Getting
And
outside in nature.
yeah,
Adventure.
pretty much anything outside is like
Yeah.
what I love. And
And everything's just so much more heightened and beautiful. Sober. You're not like drunk walking
it's
in the woods or
yeah, I'm not hungover and
falling down.
barely awake.
Is there any advice at all that you would give to the listeners if they are struggling in active addiction, or even if they're struggling with their recovery today?
Reach out to somebody, no matter how hard it may be and how much you may not want to. I know that sometimes, speaking up and talking about what's going on is the hardest, the biggest challenge. It's like, but look for somebody who has, a good amount of time under their belt, sobriety, somebody who lives that life. Ask them, and be vocal and honest. Honesty will get you a very, very far. And just let go of your fears and talk to somebody about your life and your problems. Somebody, even it can be somebody that you don't even know, and that makes it a little easier. And that's really what the meetings are good for, meeting people, because everybody's doing the same thing. You don't have to overcomplicate it and think that you have to make friends, and it can be weird, and you can see that people are kind of cliquey at the meetings sometimes, but you don't have to worry about that. You're there for your sobriety, and look past your own insecurities and know what you're there for. Just be present and listen. And if you absolutely have to, look for somebody and reach out, and do not be ashamed of that, because
Right. One day at a time. Like, we're never going to be perfect. No one is perfect. And I think that's a huge thing in recovery and addiction.
yeah, acceptance.
Acceptance. It's number one. And thank you. And what an incredible story. I am so very proud of you. And I am grateful to have you in my life today, because you certainly do help me through my own sobriety. Thank you for coming on my show, Crystal Living Sober. This is episode 11 with Steven.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I wish everybody to have a great rest of your day.
And a happy Thanksgiving.
And have a happy Thanksgiving. And thank you for tuning in.